Good evening. This is StabtheDragon Productions for another whiskey review. Whiskey review number 24 is TX Straight Bourbon Single Barrel Bottled in Bond. My very first whiskey review was TX Straight Bourbon 90 proof. But now we've got the Bottled in Bond. A little bit of history. I always start my evaluation with evaluating the history of a particular drink. Firestone&Robertson, the distillery, was started in 2010 by Leonard Firestone and Troy Robertson in Fort Worth, Texas. Two friends, they met and started talking whiskey and realized they had a similar passion, and so they started a whiskey company. Their first offering in 2012 was the TX Blended Whiskey, which is sourced but is a smooth, sweet, dessert-like whiskey that is really quite good. Their bourbon did take, a couple of years longer. It was released in 2016. The distillery was sold to Pernod Ricard. French words, Pernod, whatever. Pernod Ricard out of Paris, France in August of 2019. Personally, and this review is all my own opinion, I always feel a little bit let down somehow when a small but excellent company sells out to the big boys, especially if it's a small company that's local to me, and especially if I really like their product. Now, when I did my evaluation of the 90 proof several months ago, the straight bourbon, it was my very first whiskey review, I was a bit harsh, perhaps in criticizing them for selling out to Pernod Ricard. The good side of their sellout in 2019 is that and of course my phone goes off. So let's, scam likely is my best friend. So there, toss the phone across the room. Okay, so the good side of this sellout is that there was an infusion of capital into the great product that can open up more opportunities for growth and diversification. Now, we've got this Bottled in Bond single barrel edition, and there are some finished whiskeys in a barrel proof in their lineup as well. So you see how that infusion of capital has really happened, because this Bottled in Bond and the finished whiskeys have come out since the sellout to Pernod Ricard. Now, the Firestone&Robertson website says this is the first Texas bourbon that is bottled in bond. Now, Andalusia Distillery in Blanco, Texas, they did a bottled in bond single malt a few months before this one came out in 2021. So, that's a single malt, it's not a bourbon. So this is the first bottled in bond bourbon here in Texas. And there's over 100 distilleries now in Texas. I think I saw the figure 130. That's unbelievable. I have no idea where all these distilleries are, but here in the Fort Worth area, there's at least 4 or 5. The greater outlying area we're doing is quite a few. So now this sale to Pernod Ricard may not have been just a case of cashing in. It could have been, looking at it on the positive side, it could be the love of their product and the business opportunity to expand their product. Just made sense to sell and get that extra capital in there. So still, in my halfway romantic mind, I really kind of wish it had stayed owned locally. So history, 4 out of 5 points for this bourbon. Bottle packaging, marketing. This bottle is almost identical with the 90 proof bottle, other than the label's quite a bit different. This label is antiqued, kind of a ragged paper edge type thing. Looks like parchment of some kind. And then the 90 proof, it was kind of the clear plastic label. It still says, TX vertically, and then it says Texas Straight Bourbon, bottled in bond under U.S. government supervision, 100 proof, 50% alcohol by volume, and then it's got this yellow sticker up here that says it's a single barrel select goody liquor barrel. On the side is another sticker that gives more information that it's a goody select, and you know, that's the liquor store where I got it, of course, and it's barrel number 2000. Now the cap has the distinctive boot leather that TX does in all their bottles. You can see that, and this actually looks like ostrich skin to me. I've had a pair of ostrich skin boots, and that's kind of what that looks like. However, the bottle cap gave me a major malfunction when I was opening it. It basically self-destructed. I mean, it just fell all apart here. The wood stopper here, I mean, it's got a rubber stopper down below, but it's wood up top, and it was incredibly hard to get off. I had to pry it with a pocket knife, a pair of pliers. I mean, and it just fell apart. And even now, I mean, after having it, man, and there it goes, just rolls across the desk. Even now, I mean, I have to use this little rubber thing to get the stopper out. And it's the only bottle in my collection that I've had to do that. Now, I've had one other cork break, but this is a rubber cork. It's not going to break, but it's just too tight. Something, I don't know. And then the whole thing just fell apart. So, you know, that is a major negative with me. Otherwise, I like the bottle design, the label. Usually I like the caps, the other two bottles of TX product that I've had. Now, I have seen several Facebook ads for TX whiskeys in recent months. So again, that capitalization from the French outfit has been put to good use. When I reviewed the 9 proof version, I had not seen these advertisements. So seeing them now is a good thing. But having that bottle cap self-destruct is a negative. So last time I gave the 90 proof bottle a 5 out of 5 on bottle packaging and marketing, but this time only a 4 out of 5 because of the bottle cap issue. Moving on to composition, the Bottled in Bond Act of 1897 established this process, and it requires the whiskey to have one distiller, one distillery, one distilling season. It's got to be matured in new oak charred barrels for at least 4 years, and it's got to be precisely 100 proof. We do not have a mash bill by percentages, but we do know that it's composed of Texas corn, Texas wheat, Texas barley, Texas water, and a Texas pecan yeast. So for composition, 13 out of 15 points. And that's 1 point higher than the 90 proof edition because it is a Bottled in Bond and 100 proof in this 750 milliliter bottle. Appearances. This is a fairly dark, rich looking bourbon. Bronze to copper in the glass here. Yeah, it's kind of on the border between a 3 and a 4 on my 5-point scale. So I'm going to go ahead and go with a 4 on that. Aroma Nosing. Now my next to useless nose can barely detect something. The website says floral, maple, and cinnamon. Another reviewer says corn, pecan pie, vanilla, hints of oak. I can smell some sweetness and a little bit of the Texas funk. The 90 proof review, I gave it a 9 out of 10 on the nose, but these days I'm a little bit tougher on that because I just can't smell much. But I can smell just a little bit of the Texas funk here, so 8 out of 10 is what I would give that. So now for the all-important taste category, and here's a possible points of 25. Now the website says fig, allspice, brown sugar. Reviewers that I've read say pecan pie, which is how I described the 90 proof. Cinnamon, butter, vanilla, peppery. When I taste it, right up front, and then all throughout, I get the corn and the Texas funk. If you've never had a Texas whiskey, you don't really know what I'm talking about. Some people describe it as burnt barrel, but this is very different from just burnt barrel. Man, I don't know. I mean, all the Texas whiskey, almost all. I've had a couple that didn't have it. I think those were in a climate-controlled warehouse. But the heat of the Texas summer does something to whiskey. And it doesn't matter which distillery or which edition of whiskey the distillery's putting out, you get the Texas funk in all of them. Even in the ryes. The ryes have a Texas funk. Single malts have the Texas funk. So I'm not sure what it is. To me, I like it, okay? But it's just the way the whiskey interacts with the barrel and the extreme temperatures. I mean, we have freezing cold winter for a week or so, a couple of times, and then a long hot summer. But I get less of the pecan pie in this one than I remember with the 90 proof. And I have to say that this is a wheated bourbon. In the composition, I mean, it's got corn, wheat, barley, but most wheated bourbons have a softer, gentler, sweeter flavor than this. So for a wheated bourbon, I mean, this is pretty strong. It doesn't have any rye in it, but it kind of tastes like it's got rye. So I'm not sure what I'm tasting there. I think with the 90 proof, I get that pecan yeast, the pecan pie flavor. Both are aged for 4 years, though. The only difference is the proof. Okay, now we don't have the precise mash bill, but maybe this one, because it's a higher proof, maybe it's a bit more tannic, a bit more of the wood. I'm not sure. Now this is a single barrel, chosen by Goody Goody. So there's that, and each barrel is going to be a little bit different. Yeah, that's what you get with store selects. But for tasting, I mean, this is just all delicious. Absolutely. The sweet, the cinnamon, the peppery, the Texas funk, the corn, the oak. I'm getting all of that. So I'm going to say 20 out of 25, which is the same score I gave the 90 proof. Maybe my scoring's mellowed out over the past several months. I don't know. All right, mouthfeel and finish is the next with 15 possible. This is definitely a little bit more viscous and oily. But the good thing about this 100 proof is I'm getting more of a sinus burn in a very pleasant way. Now, there's some people who really want smooth. I would not call this really smooth. I prefer that little bit of a burn. Okay, it's a tad bit of a burn going down, but not much. This is certainly not a Kentucky hug, not at all. But it does get up in my sinuses a little bit, which I enjoy. So the mouth feels a little bit stronger. The finish, man, that wood funk and pecan on the finish is there, sweet. And it's a pretty long finish. Maybe a bit drying in the mouth. All in all, I think it's a good mouthfeel and a good strong finish. So I'm going to say 14 out of 15. So let's talk about price, value, and availability for 10 points. Goody Goody, I paid $50.99 for this. Total Wine had it for a buck more at $51.99. Specs did not have this bottle and bond on their website. And I can't remember if I've seen it in the store. I thought that I had seen it in their store. But when I checked the website today, it was not listed. And this is a barrel select, okay? A store selected barrel. So maybe Specs doesn't have that kind of a deal with Firestone&Robertson. I'm not sure. So, it's going to be a minor ding for availability. And it would be very you know, just the way single barrels are, it would be hard to compare this with another single barrel, but they're all going to be in the same ballpark, I would think. So, uh, 9 out of 10. I really think the $50, $50.99 price is good for a craft distillery, bottled and bond. I mean, Texas whiskey, good grief. So yeah, I would definitely buy this again. Absolutely. You know, that little availability issue with Specs though. Now Specs carried all the other varieties of TX, and so why they don't go along, and it's just a business decision, I guess. All right, so the next question for 5 points is this a neat drink or a mixer? And there's different ways of doing mixer. I mean, you can say, oh, it needs to be mixed. Okay, a weak, lame whiskey, you need to cover it up somehow. If a whiskey's got some kind of a bad taste to it, you want to cover it up in a mixed drink. But there are some whiskeys that, and I just don't do mixed drinks. I don't do cocktails. You know, so understand that. So I drink all my stuff neat, and this is really fantastic neat. I absolutely love this neat. Would it work in a mixer? Absolutely, because it's got a strong flavor. I mean, Texas whiskeys have that strong flavor. That Texas funk is going to be present. And at 100 proof, oh, absolutely. So I'm not sure what kind of a cocktail you would put this in with that Texas funk. I probably ought to go to a bar and go to a distillery. You know, this distillery is just like 10 miles from my house. Uh, I need to go there and see what you do with a cocktail with something like this. Because to me, I would hate to hide the flavor of this, to cover it up in the least. I mean, this is just a nice, rich Texas flavor. So, neat or mixer, I'm going to give it all 5 points for sure. Final category is a bonus of 5 points. Hey, this is a hometown product for me. It's 10 miles from my house. So absolutely 5 bonus points. I mean, what can I say? You know, so let's give it a total score. And I came up with an 86. Now that seems a little bit low. It's 1 point higher than the 90 proof that I did several months ago. And you know, but again, I don't know which is the better one. I'm going to have to try them side by side. I kind of think the 90 proof gave me a bit more of the pecan flavor, pecan pie. That's how I described that, as I described it as liquid pecan pie. With the 100 proof, I think the proof kind of overwhelms that a little bit, but the advantage of the proof is the mouthfeel and the burn that I really like. So, you know, they're each strong in different ways. So I'd have to give them a side-by-side test to see which I liked better. But right now, this is 1 point higher at 86. My letter grades are higher than my numerical grades. So this is an A minus. I think it's a very good whiskey. Really, really like it. So recommendation, I will definitely, my plan is when I finish going through all these North Texas whiskeys, then I'm going to do a double elimination tournament. That's my idea. That's my plan. And so at some point, I will have that head-to-head competition with the other TX bourbon to see which I like the most. And I'm probably going to get a port wine finish on this. It's got a sherry and a cognac and a port. And I'll get the port because I've got another Texas bourbon that's a port finish. So that way I can do a head-to-head with those two. I don't think I will go to the barrel proof edition. I'm just not a big fan of barrel proof whiskeys. After you get over 100 proof, I start declining in how I like it. And I've got some high proofs. I mean, I got actually several high proofs, and I like them all. But I tend to favor that below the higher proof thing. But my recommendation is if you're interested in trying a Texas bourbon, I highly recommend this TX Bottled and Bond straight bourbon here, especially if you like higher proofs. if you're like me and you're drinking your way around Texas, you simply must get a hold of this whiskey. Absolutely. And obviously, if you're a Bottled and Bond fan, you know, because there's a lot of Bottled and Bond products all around the country, this is the only BIB product from Texas, or well, the only bourbon. Andalusia has a Bottled and Bond single malt. I did share some of this bottle with a neighbor. We sat out on his front porch and enjoyed a glass. Now, I had just opened it, and I'd been telling him how much I liked the 90 proof and how it tasted like liquid pecan pie. And, you know, so we were both a little bit disappointed in this one because I'd kind of built it up so much. Set his expectations up too high, maybe. He still liked it. It just wasn't, you know, all that I'd cracked it up to be, I guess. So, but what I've noticed is as I've gone down the bottle, I've liked it more. Okay, so see, I'm at close to the halfway mark there. And that's kind of normal for me. As I get down a bottle, I like it more. Well, that's all the time we've got now. So, in hoc signo winkies, and this is Stab the Dragon signing off for now. Out here.